Back here with Shelley Netco again. We're going to talk about confidence and how that relates in a relationship, in life, in really everything, I guess. I don't guess, I know. We talked about trust, we talked about truth, we talked about all kinds of different things to get to here, and it all wraps up into the same thing, self-love. It's all about, it ends up being confidence at the end of the day. Yes. And that, I mean, I think that's one of the most important things. And we're not, you know, I always want to say, we're not talking about being cocky. Confidence doesn't mean you're better than anybody else. It just means you think you're equal, right? And it means we're not comparing. Like, okay. Like, so this is, we always talk about we're going to be real and be truthful. I fucking hate being short, right?
Okay.
But when I feel that way, I'm like, dude, why would you compare yourself? That's something you can't change. That's a ridiculous thought. Like, let that one go, right? But when I was younger, I'd be like, motherfucker. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It was like a little chip on my shoulder sometimes, right? Mm-hmm. Or sometimes it bothers other people, and I sense that because I'm empathetic, like a woman I'm dating or whatever. And I'll be like, whoa, it fucking bothers her, so it must bother me. Or it's really my issue and I project it on them or whatever. But that's how I was when I was younger. And so that's a confidence issue. That's like if you boil that down, that's insecurity. It's a confidence issue.
Self-acceptance.
Self-acceptance, right? Like look in the mirror and be like, oh, I love myself. Like, look, self-love. Who cares how fucking tall you are or how old you are or whatever, right? Yeah. You just love yourself for who you are. And that goes back to that key component in a relationship. You have to have that. Mm-hmm. And again, it's not being cocky. It's not saying you're better, but it's definitely not comparing yourself to anyone else. Yeah.
Right.
I think women do that a lot, by the way.
I think so.
That's why I'm looking at you right now. I'm waiting for you to like fess up on that shit.
No, well, I was going to start with, I don't think I gained my confidence until I was in my mid-20s. And that was, I ran away from Ohio at 19, came out here. I had to get away from everything there, including my mom, and came out here. And then actually late 20s, once I married my husband and became a different person. But I completely became a different person. So once I did that, I realized who I could be. So I had to realize who I could be to actually become that. Mm-hmm. And that's when I gained my confidence. So that's when I stopped comparing myself. That's when I stopped worrying about everybody and everything. And I just got into just becoming the best mom I could be, the best wife I could be, the best everything I could be. So that's when it became me and me versus me and everything else and all the noise and everybody else.
You know, it's funny, we talk about confidence, we talk about like becoming somebody that you never thought you'd be. That's this for me. Mm-hmm. I figured this shit out in a week. Mm-hmm. Like a bunch of people said, hey, you really got to do this, you really got to do this. I never thought in a million years I'd sit here and do this, ever. Mm-hmm. Especially on camera, and it doesn't even bother me. Like I don't even care. This is my natural state now. Right. I can talk as much as I want, which is my world, right? And spew out information that all these smart people gave me over the years, and it's perfect. And then I get to talk to smart people, I get to talk to Brian Willen. You know what I mean? You're like, all these great people are coming around, and it's like, this is actually fun for me. But if you were to tell me a month ago, I'd be sitting here doing this in a studio.
You would judge yourself.
No, I'd be like, hell no, I ain't doing that, because I might say something stupid.
Because that's judgment.
Which I'm gonna anyways,
that's
right? So who cares?
Though, right?
Right. And I'm not saying but, I do think that you can have confidence in different areas of your life.
Yes.
I think you can be confident in a relationship. I think you can be confident in business. You can be confident in life in general. Mm-hmm. And I have a few friends that are just naturally, they're just confident in everything. They just know they can do it, right? Which I guess I always did, but I operated from a place of fear a lot of my life. Of lack.
Yes.
And I would be like, okay, I'm going to be so successful, and I want to be successful, and I want this, and I want that. But I want is lack, exactly what you're saying. Yes. And it's a lack of confidence, really, is what it is, because none of those things, like we were saying, happiness can't be based on a person, an outcome, or a thing. So really, I'm fighting something that I should have already.
Fighting for your limitations.
And I'll tell you another secret about confidence. For me, and this might resonate with some people, is that my success in business was to almost buy this woman I was in a relationship with. I was like waiting for affirmation, right? Like if we can go on nice trips and I can have nice cars and blah, 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 like she's gonna like me more. And then when I realized—
But is that validation or confidence?
I don't know, I think that's both, isn't it? It's like a whole bunch of shit that's fucked up.
You might have gained confidence in business through the avenue of seeking validation.
Okay, and that, I think you're right. That's a really, really great observation. Here's the funny thing. As I grow, because as you grow, and I posted this on the Instagram thing today, I'm getting better at that, by the way. as you grow, you start to grow out of a relationship. Like as you become more and more healthy, if the other person doesn't want to get healthy, you're going to grow out of the relationship. Eventually, it doesn't work.
Well, because it doesn't, you're
And
not.
I'm not saying you're better.
No, you're just not mirroring. You're not.
Yeah. You
It's
just don't
not
play the game,
reciprocal anymore.
right? Like you get out of running around the bush and the text bullshit all day, right? Like
Sure.
eventually you're just done. And I think when that happened, or when that was happening, one of the things I was scared of was, well, shit, what's my mojo going to be now? Right? So I had to change my focus on life, and I had to change my focus on who I was and what I wanted. And I remembered that feeling of being in the fire department, like all the great things and all the wonderful things about helping people, and that natural want to, if you see somebody on the side of the road changing their tire, like you stop and help them.
Right.
Or, you know, you see like somebody's walking up and you hold the door open, right? Those are things that confident people do. And the difference between doing it from a place of lack and doing it from a place of abundance is, if you hold the door open for somebody and you don't expect a thank you, that's a place of confidence, because you don't need a thank you from them. You're doing it for you.
Right.
Right? And I think that's where my whole perspective changed. That's when I really became happy and joyful, is when I decided, oh wow, I'm gonna grow my life and my world to give back. Right? Like this is what this is about.
This is what this is about.
And this is filling me up. Like this does more for me than it's probably gonna do for anybody. So I'm a selfish motherfucker, but in a good way.
Which will boost your confidence more so. Not that you're looking for it or needing it, but that's.
I think we all need
because
that a
confidence
little
is based in self-love. So doing this, like doing good for others and the greater good, is what boosts your self-love, which is where the confidence comes from.
And I think it's good for everybody, though.
Absolutely.
Like I don't think anybody is above getting an accolade, or hey, you know what, you look really nice today. Not in a piggish, shitty way.
Right. No,
But
interesting.
like in a, hey, you know what, you look nice, or man, it's really nice to talk to you, or you see somebody walking down the street and you're like, hey man, nice shoes, or whatever, But those accolades build people up, and that's wonderful. That's a great thing to be doing, right? But it does. It makes you confident. I remember I was walking through the parking lot the other day, and I was walking like just wandering around. This girl goes, hey, you smell good, and I was like, how the fuck do I respond to that? I didn't even know what to say, right? Because I was like, oh, I guess, and I was. You know what I mean? I didn't know what to do. But she was just being nice.
Yeah.
And it should be such a normal thing for anybody to be like, oh my gosh, thank you so much. I hope you have a wonderful day.
Right.
But I was like, what the fuck? What?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's so funny how, and that's what I'm saying is, you're not confident all the time. If I was confident, I'd be like, oh my gosh, thank you so much, ma'am. I appreciate that.
Yeah.
Or you look at somebody, you're walking down the road and you see like a beautiful woman or something, and you kind of look at her, and as soon as she looks at you, you're like,
yeah.
you know what I mean? You look away, right?
You're so uncomfortable.
Yeah, because you don't have the confidence to be like, oh, hey, how are you doing? You look nice today.
Yeah.
And hold that eye contact type of thing.
I've coached many people who are at the level where they can't even say thank you, like you're describing, but they don't even know how to respond, and they're so uncomfortable with receiving a compliment.
Right.
Because they don't. They're at the bottom ground.
I used to be like
ground
that.
level of confidence.
I used to be like that.
Right.
It was easier for me to work from a place of, because, man, I remember, how do you say it? When I would race motorcycles, I would always think on the line. I would, like, if somebody would be like, oh yeah, we do really well or whatever, I'd be like, oh, I suck.
Yeah.
Because then I wouldn't have pressure.
Well, that's that self-talk too. It's like, and that's.
But I wouldn't have pressure. It wasn't that I thought I sucked.
Yes.
It was because I wouldn't have pressure to perform then.
Right.
Because I was scared of that.
Yeah, because there's no fear of success. So there's fear of failure, fear of success.
Right.
And they're both based in confidence, lack of it or having it.
Right.
Right. So when you go into something, it's like, okay, I'm afraid to fail.
Yeah.
And that's somebody who has confidence.
Yeah.
Because you're a performer.
Yeah.
But when you go into something and you're afraid of success, and you're like, oh shit, if I actually succeed at this, what do I have to do?
Right.
Am I going to have to keep doing it more? Am I going to have to be better?
Right.
Those kinds of things.
Yeah.
And then that's more of a lacking self-confidence, because then it's like you have to build on that so that you can build on that.
And I think too, part of that is people treat you the way you let them treat you.
Absolutely.
And an example, so I always tell my son, he's 14, I'm always like, Nate, when you walk down the street, you hold your head up, you don't ever look at the ground. And I say it like almost in an asshole way. I'm like, you never walk down and like look at the ground like this, because like you're almost like a mark, kinda. You know, like be proud, like look up, look around. Don't be looking at your fucking phone. Like look around and be present and be part of the world. And you know what I mean? Or when you shake somebody's hand, you shake their hand, not grab it firm like a jerk,
Don't
but
break up their hand.
like a nice handshake, and you look them in the eye like, hey, how you doing? My name's Scott Freymuller. You know what I mean? Or those are things that build confidence. And also, but it also shows to people like, hey, you know, I'm not like a pushover. I'm a nice person, but I'm confident. I have boundaries. I respect you, and I expect you to respect me, right?
Right.
And those are great things. And I think women are better at that. I honestly think they're better. Really?
I mean, it might be.
Not from like a show-off
Might be a lot of the
way.
group I'm working with. I don't know because a lot of women who come to me are in lack.
Well, because they're seeking help, of course.
Yeah, and they're maybe broken from a relationship, feeling broken. Yeah.
Feeling broken, but
so
they're
when
really
you
not,
when you
yeah.
feel broken and you come out of a relationship and your heart is broken or whatever, then obviously you're lacking self-confidence.
And but so then confidence goes back to, you know, not somewhat, it goes back to being truthful with yourself too. Because if you come out of a relationship and you're like, oh, I'm broken, you're in a victim mindset. That's not okay.
Well, but you need time to repair.
Well,
So
I think you need time to grow.
can't walk out the door and go, woo, I'm on fire. I mean,
No.
obviously there's a percentage of people who do that, but they should
Right.
have got out a long time ago, let's
Right,
face it.
right.
Yeah.
But I still think though that you can't be a victim. You walk out the door and you're like, okay, here's what I did, and here's what I need to repair. And clearly, I didn't want to be in that relationship because if I did, I would be in it, and I would have given the effort. And take that approach instead of being like, oh my God, he was such an asshole, or she was such a bitch, or whatever. That's not the right approach. That's a victim approach, and that's not a growth mindset.
But that's also part of the process. So that's part of grief.
Oh, blame. Well, okay.
Grief. So when you come out of a relationship, there's a grieving process. Depending on how, I mean, even if it's like, 2 months, you still might be so emotionally invested
Right.
that you have to grieve. So the grieving process is going through that purging of everything and what did he do? Eventually you get to what I did.
Or some people don't.
No, but there's a whole lot of blaming because
Right.
blaming makes it easier. And as I'm grieving, it takes a while maybe for me to point my finger at myself.
And that's a confidence thing too, right?
Yeah.
It goes back to truth and self-love and all that.
Absolutely.
You said something right there, and that's a huge red flag. Like if you meet somebody and they're all about, oh, woe is me, I'm a victim.
Yes.
And we agreed we're never going to diagnose, right? We're not medical. We're
No,
not professionals.
I'm not
but,
medical.
But
no.
I don't know any other label than to say like narcissist goes with that.
Yes.
So if you get out of a relationship and you're like, oh my God, I'm a victim, like you're looking for another source because that's what those people do. Like they're a victim. Like, hey, adopt me because, oh, I'm so fucked up and I'm such a victim of this guy because he's a piece of shit, or this girl because she's blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
Right? And they go to the next one and the next one and the next. You know what I'm saying? Like that's how they do it. That's how they draw you in.
They might not be a narcissist, but they are definitely somebody who's not willing to take accountability
Absolutely.
for their actions.
And
So that's a red flag.
I've gotten into relationships like that. Like, oh my God, my ex-husband was such a piece of shit. And oh, let me help you. Like, let me make your life better. You know what I mean? That's not the right mindset. The mindset is to be like, okay, I get you had a difficult relationship, but tell me about your part of that. If you want to bring it up. Because clearly you're not over it if you're still talking about it, right? But that's the key thing, right? Is that you can't be in that victim mindset. And a victim mindset isn't being confident. Because when you're in, I don't even know what mindset you call it. I have no idea. Responsibility mindset, like growth mindset, whatever.
Yeah.
That's confidence because you have to admit that you have a responsibility or a part in that situation that wasn't good for you, and that's okay. But you still have a part in it, whether it's 10% or 30% or 50% or 100. And when somebody's like, what are you fucking talking about?
Yeah, no one's in it by themselves.
Yeah, like, wait, that's not my fault. That's all you. You're like, oh my God, seriously? Like, that's time to walk away. That's like a red flag. And it takes you a little while to figure that stuff out. But even in the beginning of a relationship, you said sometimes like you can buy a car that's, you find out later's a lemon. I agree. In certain situations that can happen. But, when you're sitting there, and we'll talk about my list, when you're sitting there, somebody talks like that, like it's somebody else's fault and it's all their fault and blah, 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 blah. Like, why even talk anymore?
Yeah, are you going to leave the showroom?
Like, you fucking kidding me?
Or have you already left the showroom and you're 3 years down the road and then you still decide, I'm going to drive the lemon every day?
But they're telling you who they are. They're saying, hey, I don't take responsibility for my life. I'm a victim. I want people to take care of me. I don't want to do the work.
Oh, you're talking on the first date? Is that what you're
I'm talking about any time.
Okay.
But it could be the first date.
It could be
maybe.
the first date.
Yeah.
That's a red flag.
Well, if somebody's talking about like
that is no confidence.
yeah, right. But that's what's going to break you up later on because they're not taking responsibility for
Right.
anything that happened to them up to now. So why would they take responsibility in the future? Like that's not a growth mindset. They're never going to say, "Oh my God, babe, I messed up too." You know what? Part of that argument was because of me, and I understand that you're upset. But what can I do to change that, or what can I do to help you? And then the other person goes, "Oh my gosh, what can I do to help you?" Of course, I've never done that before, but I hear that's how it's supposed to work, right? And if you did do that, like how amazing that would be,
Yeah.
right? Like that'd be so bitchin'.
But the person who signs up for the person who does my ex this, blah, blah, blah,
Right.
this is horrible.
You're in a place of not being
So
healthy,
let's say
too.
I choose that.
Yeah, you want to rescue,
It's because I'm a fixer
right?
and I need to have somebody like that because I need a project,
But-
because that's my thing, because I don't have confidence,
Right.
because I don't have self-worth,
Right. I was there.
which came from way back.
Yeah, I was totally there.
That didn't pop up like last week after I ate a salad.
And you're repeating the same thing over and over and over. Like, so if you didn't get affirmation from your parents, all of your relationships that you have, you're going to repeat that until you finally go, wait a second, something's not right here. And I remember too, you know, I did lots of therapy, right? Because I've always been about this mental health
Same.
thing. And I remember one time somebody said to me, I can't remember who it was, they're like, oh, you know, you should really, let's look at your childhood. And I was like, whatever, that's so stupid.
You're like, let's
yeah,
not.
it's all bullshit, right? And then it's actually not. It's actually true.
It's the root.
So whatever was going on when you were a kid, you repeat those same things over and over until you fix that shit from when you were a kid. And it can even come from a healthy relationship.
Well,
but
because
like a good parent.
Because it feels like home and you keep seeking it
Yeah.
out.
Yeah.
And you seek out home.
Because you think that's what it's supposed to look like. But
Because
it's
it's
not.
comfortable.
Right.
And what people don't realize, this is what I would love people to understand, it comes in, it's the same candy in different wrappers.
Yep. You think it's different, but it's not.
You think
Same
it's
shit.
different. You're like,
Yeah.
oh, look at this shiny gold
Yeah.
wrapper. Well, the last one
Yeah.
I had was a silver wrapper, so this is definitely different.
Right.
So I love gold wrapper candy.
Right.
I'm going to try it.
Right.
Because I heard it's good.
Yeah, this one's totally different, but it's the same candy.
You open it up, it's the same
It's the
candy.
Same thing.
Yeah.
Because again, if you don't do your work, you attract what you are.
Yeah, and
you have to admit you're part of it to do your
Absolutely.
work. You have to. Like
Yes.
there's no option to not do that.
Right.
I think that's the point that we're trying to make here with this confidence deal, right? Is that if you don't have the confidence to admit your part, to admit that you're not perfect every day, like I admit I'm not a monk, or anything like that, like you have to admit your portion or your part in the issue to get better, right?
Absolutely.
Like that's what I mean. Even like employee evaluations, like take something simple like that, right? Like you did them. You said when you did career development and stuff like that, you do an evaluation. Like, hey, how do you think you performed this year? How do you think like this? How do you think like that? Can you imagine if you got an evaluation? You're like, fuck it, I'm perfect. I don't have any responsibility in this shit. Like I'm just great. You'd be like,
Right.
are you kidding me, dude?
It's like, why did your supervisor send you here and say you're losing your job?
Right. Or even if you are doing good in your job and you're like, oh no, I don't need to improve. Like I'm doing amazing.
Right.
You'd send them to the freaking counselor right then,
Yeah.
right? But somehow that's okay to do when you're at home with your partner.
Sure.
How the fuck does that work?
Right.
I don't even get it. Like, can you imagine doing that? What are you talking about? What? Or
Because, you know why? Because it's conditional.
oh yeah, I guess that's right, huh? Well, they know they could too,
Sure.
because if they can get away with that shit once, they'll get away with it again.
Because you don't have any confidence. You've been
To
putting
call
up
them out
with it
anyways
for
in
how
the first
long?
place.
How long
Yeah.
have you been putting up with it?
Yeah.
Because of no confidence and no self-worth.
You know,
That's
so
what it
that
all
brings me
leads
to a
back to.
point. We have this. We actually learned this in my company. I have a construction company, right? And we always say it's not the what, it's the why. And you say the 3 whys.
my
Because
favorite.
if you ask why 3 times in my world, like you know what you're talking
It's
about.
my favorite.
Right. So anyway, so you're backing up a truck, right? One of the guys or girls or whatever is backing up a truck and they hit the wall or they hit a hydrant or whatever they hit, God forbid. And it's not that they hit that, it's that what happened up to it. It's not the what, it's the why, right? Like that's a healthy way to look at it.
Sure.
So yeah, this happened. And then you look at, okay, well, what were the things that led up to it? Did you not have a backup camera? Were you really tired that day? Did you get in a fight? Did somebody cut you off on the road and you're pissed off about something else and you brought it to work and you weren't thinking? Or do you just not give a shit? Or, you know what I'm saying? I think the first time it's like, what can we do to make this better? Like, because we're all responsible somewhat, right? So what can we do to make it better? And that mindset is like a really healthy mindset to me, right? And you know, I know we talked about, I know we're going to get to sex here at some point. I'm sure sex is a weapon, all that stuff. But you know, when we talk about cheating, I've always heard, always, that cheating isn't the problem. That's a symptom of a problem. So then that's a perfect example. That's like backing your truck into a wall. Not the same thing. I know it's a shitty way to say it, but you know what I'm saying?
It's so not the same.
No, it's so not the same thing. But
Not even close.
but you want to go. You want to go like why?
Why? Yeah.
Why? Is it because you're not getting affirmation in the relationship? Is
Confidence.
it because confidence? Is it
Confidence.
because you have low self-esteem? Is it because like I don't know, whatever?
Yeah, which is
because like
self-esteem
you're a
is
sex addict. Like,
confidence.
who fucking knows?
Yeah,
but I'm
exactly.
saying like that's not the problem. That's a symptom of a problem.
Sure.
So let's look at what the real problem is.
Yeah.
Right. So anyways, I think it all goes back to confidence. I think we like covered that pretty good.
I think there's a lot of things that if we would stop and work on ourselves and understand that we're looking outside to wait for other people to make us feel good, and when we can answer that question, are we doing that? Everything changes.
But you have to be vulnerable to do that. And
You have to
look
be
inward.
vulnerable, and you have to get real.
Yeah, and I think you can do that in a number of different ways, right? Like maybe this conversation sparks somebody's, I know it does for me. I mean, I'm thinking in the back of my head, I'm like, I should be talking to myself in the fucking mirror right now, right? Because you are essentially, I mean, when we're doing this is therapy for, I think, everybody. It is for me.
Sure.
Because I remember, and I know what's right and wrong. I know it. But sometimes in a relationship, you don't have the balls to say it. Like, you fucking know what's right and wrong. Like, we're not dumb, right? And most of this stuff is pretty simple stuff. You know what I'm saying?
It's pretty fundamental.
It's pretty fundamental. So it's not like rocket science. It's not like, oh, no, this is cool. Like, this is okay. This is normal. You're like, no, it ain't. You know what I mean? It's that confidence to be like, no, it ain't.
Well, and I think the biggest thing that's going on right now, especially with social media, is particularly with women, I'm just going to say that, is that they put themselves out there so much so that they can get the validation that they're seeking. And it doesn't have anything to do with not getting it from partners or whatever, but they want validation, so they post their perfect picture. So that's why we do a lot of that. Women, I'm going to say, because there's a lot
Everybody does that.
Yeah, but it's a lot. It's very much a female thing.
Do you think so, really?
Oh, absolutely.
I don't think so.
And in fact, with young moms, it's called mom petition, where it's like you have to present yourself as the perfect mom, feeding your kids the perfect organic food in the perfect environment and the perfect everything. And there's so much competition with that it's diminishing self-esteem and confidence to a point where it's hard for some of them to function and their anxiety is up.
So, okay, like...
So imagine what that does as a partner in a relationship when you've shifted everything to where that's where you're validation seeking, and which is so far out there, and your self-esteem and confidence is so far down here and your anxiety is so up because you have to keep all this stuff up. It's such a triangulated mess. It's fascinating.
I don't see that being, I see that like more of a society thing though. Because as a man, and I really don't think there's that much of a difference because like me, I post about my kid a lot, or I post about like my birthday party,
Right.
but I can't honestly say I don't look at how many likes I get. I have to say that I do.
Well, but
and if it's like 2 likes, I'm like, fuck, that post sucked.
No,
You know what I
I'm
mean?
talking about
but you
women.
do get validation.
No, I'm talking about women or girls,
Oh, like seeking
young girls,
outside.
whatever, who will take like 75 pictures to get the perfect one before they
That's
post
messed
it.
up.
So
Or selfies.
imagine the anxiety,
Yeah.
and that's all low
You know that's
self-esteem based.
You know that's a deal, right?
Yeah, I know
Like
it's
if a woman
deal.
has selfies all over her Facebook page, you don't date
Yeah, I
that
know
girl.
it's a deal.
Okay, just making sure. All right.
Yeah, don't go out with her, Scott.
Right, yeah. Like I'll figure that out at some
But
point.
do you know what I mean? It's just like just that notion of like raising anxiety, lowering the self-confidence.
Mm-hmm.
So that's a whole other confidence bucket that then you don't know like what kind of a partner is that going to be, right?
Right. That
Or if
makes
you're
sense.
with that person, what's really going on, and do you really know? How connected are you?
Yeah, I think maybe we talk about this one again because this encompasses so many different things.
It does.
But that's confidence. So thank you again for watching.